Hey, everybody, welcome to What the Flick. Alonso Duralde, Tim Frisch, Ben Mankiewicz, the night of episode 7, Ordinary Death. There was not an ordinary death in it. There was an extraordinary death.
Yeah.
So let's start with the end. Because Freddy realized that, I can't remember that guy's name.
PD.
Wasn't Petey the guy who killed himself?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right. But he realized, so he didn't kill. I'm trying to remember the name.
Oh,
of
the other guy
whose throat he slit. But Freddy realized that. Well, Nas told him that guy had corrupted Petey, which caused Petey ultimately to kill himself and eliminate their supply. And so it turns out Freddy, who seemed like kind of a criminal, but with a code and that system. But no, Freddy's a killer. Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, yes, he's a killer. Don't get me wrong. I'm not about to excuse any of that. But somebody who has that level of power behind bars, like, shit is happening.
No,
either he's doing it himself or he has lieutenants doing it for him. But that is not a throne one sits upon without, like a lot of blood happening.
Sure, but this seemed like, I mean, he's permitting the smoking of crack, right? That's what that is? That's what they're smoking? Anyway, a highly addictive drug, which we know from watching other movies and television shows, is dangerous for people in the criminal world because those guys become unreliable.
Right.
Right? So he's already permitting something unreliable to happen. Like
Not to mention that he has asthma.
Right. But right. So, but you'd think that Freddy would be like, hey, we don't use it, we sell it.
Right.
And so the fact that a guy in prison wanted to receive sexual gratification, and it didn't seem like a crime that you would kill someone for. I just mean, to me, that level of ruthlessness from Freddy surprised me. I'm not saying it's out of character. I didn't think he would kill his trusted lieutenant for that, which seemed in their world like the kind of thing which he would say, knock it off. Now, of course, when he learned of it, it was too late. The guy was
that's the
already
thing.
dead.
I don't think he killed him because he was getting blowjobs. He killed him because his mule is dead, and the chain of events that led to his mule being dead is what's unforgivable.
Right. So he, like the guy should have recognized, hey, he's really not into it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe
right, yeah.
Find somebody else.
Yeah, right. Find some. There's probably somebody there. Yeah, I don't know. It's at least in the TV world, there's always someone there. I don't know about real prison. So what is really interesting to me, and you mentioned a comment that was there on the YouTube comments that that we're such libs that we can't possibly entertain the thought that Nas did it. I got news for you. If Nas didn't do it, somebody else did it. Okay, so and liberals want to prosecute that person. We want the person who did it put away, never harm anybody again, you jackbag. Also stop watching. But I don't think there's any chance Nas did it because, of course, remember, we have insight that the prosecutors don't have. We saw him bloodless. Now, it doesn't guarantee, maybe he washed up, but then there's a whole scenario then that we're going to see, like, here's what really happened, and he's going to get in the shower. We're going to be like, oh.
It'll be the end of Clue. There'll be 3 different versions.
But he didn't do any of that stuff. We know he didn't. So odds are somebody did come in through one of those 3. But so one of these recaps I read, I got up super early this morning and I read a bunch of them, and it really struck me as clear. They didn't say Nas didn't do it, but I think clearly he didn't do it. But the issue is, does that even matter now? Because now Nas is a killer. He did kill that guy. I mean, that's not just, what he did is not just waiting in the getaway car while they rob the bank and then somebody shoots a guard. That's bad, and that would get you felony murder. This was a plan. I participated in a plan that I knew was going to result in someone's death. I distracted the guard while you killed him. You might as well have killed him. Nas murdered somebody.
Right. Well, and I think what the show's been implying all along is that even a purely innocent person who winds up getting arrested and going into this system is not going to come out of it the same unbesmirched person.
Yeah. So
and obviously along the way we've learned that Nas has his own rage issues, that he has assaulted people, that different things have happened. he's provided Adderall at a profit, which I don't that you would even bring that up in court, like, oh, how dare you? Well, duh, of course.
Like that
if you're going to sell your own prescription Adderall to your friends, of course there's going to be a markup.
Yeah, right. And you can't. And we've just seen how hard this family works, and they they weren't rolling in cash.
Yes.
Nas wasn't rolling in money. Nas had no real opportunity to have a job. I mean, his job, I guess, was tutoring, so he's making some money from tutoring. But we know that the kid was taking Adderall for finals because he's not sleeping, which I always thought should be their argument. I wonder if Nas is going to testify. They haven't shown that coming, but I think this keeps you from testifying.
Oh, right, yeah.
It'd be like, hey, what's that?
I don't know.
What am I seeing there on your wrist?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think they want to put him on the stand just for the cross-ex. I don't think it would go well for them.
Right, that moment where he's like, I woke up and
Yeah.
she was covered in blood, and then I left with the knife. I can't tell you why.
Yeah, the story sounds better the way they tell it than the way he tells it, I think.
So Nas's previous rage issues and fights notwithstanding, is going to jail sort of like a get you ready for prison type situation, like in this world? Because even Freddy says, hey, it might not be so bad. You're sort of good at this. You've had an acclimation period. You're clearly ready for prison now.
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, Rikers, New York Rikers has a particular reputation of, it's probably much worse than many prisons that you will get sent to. Depends on where you're sent. But, and we know Freddy just wanted it because it's a chance to see his family, and they don't have to travel 200 miles. They can travel to Rikers. Right. They live in the city. So, I think you're right. Nas is ready. And what Freddy's point is, Freddy's resigned himself. He's in for life, whether he gets convicted on this other murder or not. So he's like, you make your life where you are, and you take your pleasures where you can. And that may be we smoke a little crack. We got a little system going here. You win your battle and your life, whether you're trying to make it as a Fortune 500 guy or whether you're just trying to control your wing of the block, I think is his point.
Yeah, but you said it yourself. The system is set up so that even if you weren't guilty of the crime you're in jail for, by the time you're done, you're guilty of something because you had to survive in jail. That's the thing you had to do.
To that point, the question, one of these, I wish I could give the right thing credit, but I read like Vulture, Vox, the New York Times, and Entertainment Weekly. And I read 5 recaps this morning. And one of them was like, if he did it, does it even matter whether he committed the crime? Because he's a murderer now. He's is there a person there worth saving? Obviously, we don't want the wrong person convicted of a crime, but in a bigger picture, in the meta sense, is this a life worth saving? Like, his mother is wrong. She did not raise an animal, but he might be one now. The system might have turned him into the animal that she's talking about.
Does this show owe us the whodunit moment? Like,
Yes,
what if it ends and we never know?
I know. I was
really
thinking about that today. Like, this show really just has to end with the end of the trial, and anything beyond that is gravy. But I'm thinking that just dramatically, they gotta let us. They gotta tell us.
They could acquit him because it seems to point to somebody. Like, we certainly don't need to see an arrest or anything. I don't think they can convict him and have us continue to wonder whether he did it. I mean, that feels like it would be super unsatisfying, but they may be prepared to dissatisfy people. They are, they're taking a interesting approach.
Well, it's like the old saying, you're found not guilty, not innocent.
Right.
Right.
But what if he's found guilty, and then we just we never know? I guess. I mean, we
think it's unjust. We suspect it might be just.
Right. But it's more interesting to me, like that. Like, is it worth it? Like, it has this system, which this is a show. Nas is the lead player in a show about the system that's given us the prosecutors, it's given us regular defense attorneys, not O.J. Simpson defense attorneys.
The cops.
It's given us the cops, it's given us prison life, it's given us all aspects of, it's even given us a little insight into the appeal process with that guy who threw the acid and with Freddy to some extent. And so Nas is the vehicle which tells a story about the system. So this could be a story about the system that, they lock up innocent people. It's also given us the victim's family. Like, it wrecks their lives. They have nothing. She's cleaning bathrooms. He's,
selling all his worldly
delivering the suspect's family.
The suspect's family, sorry. And he's and they're selling her ring and he's delivering Chinese food or whatever that was. All right, so what about...
what was the spray paint? Did we ever figure out what the spray paint
on the
was?
lockers? No.
The brother with the spray paint last week?
Does that mean maybe it was red? Did he spray paint? Does that mean he spray painted the
Oh, the Muslims thing? Oh, I don't know. I didn't make that connection.
It was
but-
red what he was spray painting. Yeah, that's right. I
there's a lot of red
totally
spray
forgot
paint,
about the
I know.
brother. No, there's only like 2 or 3 cans of red spray paint in Queens. Yeah. Good luck finding red spray paint in Queens. You got to go to a Dwayne Reed.
Yeah, boy, if the stepfather was trying to make himself look less suspicious, I'd say holding a barbell over Stone's neck was maybe not the way to go, but you know.
Right. I thought that was a little extreme, but I loved the line that set it up. I loved his, "Did you think you were invisible? Like, we've met. I know who you are. You're in the health club and you're staring at me. Like, you didn't get away with it. You know, I saw you. It was easy. You asked my coworkers about me. It was wasn't tricky.
That's very stealthy.
Yeah, it wasn't very
And
stealthy.
of course, I can't look at that guy without thinking of him as the bisexual plagiarist from House of Cards.
Right.
But you know, he's
totally.
done a ton of stuff.
And yeah, Boardwalk Empire too.
Right.
So that was, but there were so many good scenes. What's the guy's name? Who? Dr. Katz? What's his name?
Oh, Chip Zine.
Chip Zine
From Into the Woods.
and Jeannie Berlin. Like there,
Oh, that was delicious.
that cross-examination was just lovely.
I don't know that I buy the lawyer kissing Nas.
Well, let's get to that. That's a big
Okay.
deal. Let's
That
get
is-
to
All
that.
right, okay,
So I
sorry.
love, like, we got, again, it's the system, like because there's frustration we all felt when, great moment. That Chandra, she paid attention to what we're saying on Twitter, by the way. She is searching her name. But her nonverbal performances everybody's are, but hers are particularly
Oh,
outstanding.
the scene with the mother.
No, the scene with the mother
Wrenching.
and the gut punch she got from
The coach.
2,
Yes.
2. She was, 2? Yeah.
Yes. I went back and watched
because
that
she's
again.
in her
yeah.
head, she's like, do I act like I knew there were 2? Or do I need to find out? And she probably should have acted like she knew there were 2. But instead, she could not help it.
Oh, yes.
She had to know, what are we talking about? And to Nas, who's what? He's 23, right?
I think so, yeah.
24, 25, something like that. But so 15 years ago, when he was 8 or 9 or 10, whatever it is, like that he pushed a kid down the stairs and threw a Coke can at a kid and hit him in the head and caused some stitches. That somehow, and then sold Adderall at a markup to his overworked, stressed out friends, right? What do he sell? 6 pills, $60, made 100. Like, this is not a major drug dealer.
Yeah.
And neither are those crimes that he committed for a Pakistani kid in the weeks and months after 9/11. Like, you can't do it. You have to punish him for it. I get that, but like these don't strike
can't
me as
ignore
great.
context.
Hang on, is this show set in 2016?
Yeah, I think so.
Ish.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was thinking that I was under the impression that both of these incidents of violence took place when he was like in junior high. Did I miss that wrong? Did I get that
No,
wrong?
he did. That was one of them was in the beginning of high school.
Yeah. So I'm thinking
Right,
that
I'm trying to
thinking that
those
maybe
were
this
like
is
2008.
2010, 2011 or something, and that way we're not.
Okay,
as far
but
away
he's
from-
still a kid in the,
Yes.
in some degree of and one of them was not long. They keep saying after the towers went down.
Yeah.
Like it was tough on him. And then they're saying that both of these were.
I would say patriotic.
Yeah, I don't think the years are going to match up to that. Like we talked about it last week. You weren't here. That screenshot of his high school record. I think those years are all messed up. Like they screwed. Whoever typed that in had it wrong because the kid was saying in the aftermath that means 2002 at
Yeah.
the latest if they're going to talk about it that way. So yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it was. Anyway, we're to believe that it was September 11th.
Right.
Payback.
Inspired.
And maybe we missed something about the date. Maybe one of those papers has the dates on them. They keep flashing us the. So the kiss, because there was a lot of criticism.
Yeah.
Of the kiss.
Yeah. Especially because all the flashbacks that we're seeing are him with Andrea, and so it's like, wait, so is this what he's thinking about, or is this what she's thinking about? Like, because the camera is on Chandra, like she's instigating this moment, and then but the flashbacks are about him and the victim. So is she thinking about him making out with the murder victim before killing her, and then that's why she's kissing him? Which I think is weird, but that's what the editing seems to be saying.
Yeah. Well,
Am I wrong?
That's what he's thinking about, I guess. Right.
But they keep cutting to her face. It's not
His
like
perspective is.
yeah, like it's her perspective. She's the one initiating. If you cut to somebody's face and then you cut to a flashback and you cut back to that person's face, the implication is that's what's on her mind.
I thought it was what he sees. I took it as what he sees.
Okay.
Like he's seeing Andrea, and
He's
he's
reliving
seeing her. Maybe trying to piece together. We're getting a lot of flashbacks from him. Maybe we're going to switch into the flashbacks of the knife slipping out of his hand and him cutting his hand. But again, I just, from a blood point of view, I cannot see how that went down, given the amount of blood that was in that room.
That confusing flashback aside, I really enjoyed the way they edited together, like closed circuit television footage that like showed it as it like Nas was reliving it, but then it went to the screen in the courtroom. I thought it was really well edited together, taking us through the night of. The perspectives.
I don't know. I don't think she would have kissed him. I don't think she would have kissed him.
Yeah.
I don't think she would have kissed him. Now the scene I think was saved by, and they I'm sure debated this enormously and thought they had built up enough that she isn't maybe tough enough to be a lawyer, and that's in some sense a compliment. Like maybe
or a criminal lawyer,
right? But maybe her future is, because she's smart as hell, is community activism, is something that where you're allowed to, you can't feel
have
this,
feelings,
have feelings for your clients like this. But she did recoil, like they kissed, and then she was like, "What am I doing?" So that was helpful to that. But then we linger on his face, like what's he thinking? He is impossible to read.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I think he's become more oblique, or at least we realize how oblique he is, given how much in the first couple episodes you think, oh, this nice guy, and he's just in these circumstances beyond his control. But then as we get to know him more, both his current actions and the actions from the past that are being revealed, we find out there's more going on here.
But is this his true self, or is this a product of spending time in jail?
I think it's a product.
I do too.
I just don't think what he did prior to this, the things, again, like, if we dug into any of the three of us and somebody wanted to prosecute us.
Right, but there's that whole thing early on where Freddy's like, you got a lot of rage in you. And I don't know that it was entirely, that didn't occur before going behind bars.
Right, so I thought that was like, I have rage.
It's as exacerbated being behind bars, don't get me wrong.
This has been a frustrating, as we talked about, this has been an unbelievable 8 weeks. The one person who seemed like my friend isn't. Literally no one wants to hear me say I didn't do it, which is all I want to say, right? I want to scream it, and I want to have people go, I hear you, brother, and give them a hug. Amara Karen. And I want to because I don't think she's like my favorite actress in 2 years. She's great at speaking, but I love it when she doesn't speak. She's so expressive. And then of course we have Box. And
yes.
And that a whole, retiring, he has no post-retirement plan. And
he thinks his death will be ordinary at the very least.
Yeah, except, I almost, but, we can see that moment, that's he's not a depressed person, but we know the percentage of cops who take their own life is, one, they have access to the weapons, they know how to use them. And we know that that's much higher than the rest of the population. And he doesn't seem depressed, but this is a guy like,
he certainly has no enthusiasm.
You want to say to him, hey man, I know you've been there 33 years, let's go 40. Like just why don't you keep working? You're not 60. Let's go. You work till 65. You're a good detective. But he is doubting it, obviously. She went after him for the inhaler, and he did his best to turn it around and make it something nice, but he did break the chain of evidence, and her suggesting that doesn't fit the narrative is a clever move. And then his colleagues, he said, I think there was a line about, they're going to play golf, and he's like, yeah. Like, he's going to play golf, and then that's the thing they give him.
Yeah.
Nobody knows him. He doesn't have
friends.
And then it ends with him staring at the golf clubs. Like, we don't know. Is he thinking, I'm going to kill myself, or is he thinking, maybe I make sure I get this one right?
Yeah, I remember during that scene thinking, oh my God, this is a nightmare. Like going to this party full of people that I hate, that have to pretend that they like me and give me shit I don't care about.
After getting hinted at, and because he's a smart guy, that maybe this last big case of mine, maybe it's wrong. Maybe it's wrong.
And taints his record.
And certainly,
and I don't think just taints his record. Like good cops, good detectives they don't just want their record tainted. They
want to get the right guy.
They want to get the right guy. They don't want the other. They don't want the wrong guy out there.
And I think for somebody who's already not looking forward to retirement, the idea of having this retirement and having this other thing
hanging over
this shroud on top is like, well, fuck, no, that's even worse,
Right.
So clearly, I think there's a desire like I got to make sure all the T's are crossed here before I can go into this other thing that I don't really want to do.
I've been waiting for Box to like realize that Nas didn't do it and like step in to save the day for like 5 episodes.
We all have, but this show doesn't. It's not
that show.
It doesn't deliver us that, and I don't think it's gonna.
Oh, we should talk about the cabbies.
Yeah, but we definitely should talk about well, that relates to what I want to talk about because the media, like that's part of it, the coverage of this, and it opens with Box's comment on it that I thought was related to, ooh, it's a copycat. It means the real killer's out there, but it wasn't that. It was just that there's a black woman got killed in the exact same way. She's poor. She doesn't live on the Upper West Side. There are no news trucks.
Right.
Nobody cares.
No.
The fact that Nancy Grace is happy to lend herself as the like shrieking voice of hysteria to a thing like this where it's like it's a fictional crime, but like yes, I would certainly be up there like
She's a great agent. I see her in action movies all the time doing that.
Yeah, but it means also that she's full of crap. Like I mean, you don't get. Like they're making fun of you.
Yeah. Well, that's what
Yeah,
I'm amazed that she agrees to do it because what they're implying is, this guy the trial hasn't happened yet, but she's already made up her mind and she's already railroading him, and she's happy to portray herself doing that in a fictional context.
Right. So either she's a true hideous monster, or she doesn't believe it that it's an act. Like her thing is, I tapped into. I'm gonna be the outraged mom, right? And I'm gonna rail against sort of the dangers posed by all the threats out there that are lurking, that are coming to get us. And yeah, sure, that's the part I play. I'll play it. I don't care.
Or she just doesn't turn things down.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I don't.
She's still mad about not getting Gone Girl.
Or that footage already existed.
Yeah, it's true. They changed the name.
Starts to make you. I mean, nobody knows who this is anymore because nobody watches the evening news. I mean, no, I'm not saying you guys, but Scott Pelley, the anchors the CBS Evening News, he won't do these things. Like, and he won't. He will not go in a movie. He will, and like it didn't seem like anything, but I've mentioned it a couple times, but I always think, yeah, good for you.
Yeah,
so yeah, right.
Keep that wall up.
It's an important line, and I'm not comparing Scott Pelley to Nancy Grace. But.
And that's how you get to be in White House Now.
Right, I'll do it. But I'm not a journalist anymore in the same way. So, anyway, I thought this was a really great episode.
Yes.
But I think the last 2 episodes have been. They're different than the first 5. It's become it feels more traditional. Still satisfying. I didn't like last episode that much, but it's still satisfying, but not as.
Well, once you go to trial, it's hard not to seem familiar.
Yeah.
I mean, and they can't.
So much
I mean,
experience.
They even mention Law and Order in this episode.
They do. And the show was so. I think that was Stan's son on The Americans who was
as the copy guy.
As the copy guy.
Oh, funny.
Yeah. But and they got like the first 4 episodes moved at such a great pace. I mean, a pace I loved, but a slower pace. First 5 episodes, really, that there was no possible way to wrap this up at the pace they were setting themselves up for a 22 episode season, and they were like, well, now we got 3 hours, so now we got to go.
Go.
Anyway, obviously it's Monday. I'm counting down the days here for the finale. Did we get everything?
I think so.
But I like the idea that maybe it doesn't matter whether he's acquitted, like that he's gone. He's a murderer. He is. Now we know it. We saw it. He is a murderer. He killed that guy.
His life is so tainted by this experience that it doesn't matter. I mean, it matters obviously if the killer is at large.
Yeah,
but,
and we don't put.
But as far
away.
as Nas's story goes, yeah.
But in the world of righteousness, maybe he's not. Is he a soul worth saving anymore? Is an interesting question. All right, guys. Good stuff. Fun. Are you all back? Everybody's here next week?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Thank goodness. Okay. Thanks for watching, everybody.